What up everyone, it's your man Xman87 here, bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is a review of the Amazon exclusive Marvel Legends X-Men Villains 5-pack from their X-Men 60th Anniversary line. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now, with that said, let's go! Strife is a clone of Cable created by the Oxani and raised by Apocalypse. Strife is the founder of the Mutant Liberation Front and the creator of the Legacy virus. Being a clone of Cable, Strife has the same mutant powers as his genetic brother, mainly telepathy and telekinesis. The main difference is that Strife's powers are more powerful than that of Cable because he is not infected by the techno-organic virus. Thus, he doesn't use his power to hold it at bay. Because he was adopted by Apocalypse, he was given genetic augmentation that makes him a powerful mutant. Such modifications include superhuman strength, speed, stamina, durability, and reflexes, and intelligence that was proven useful when he developed the Legacy virus. Strife's head sculpt is absolutely incredible. Incredible. This is beautiful right here. I love the mask this time around because the last one, you had yellow eyes painted on top of the mask, whereas this one, you see the eyes are behind the mask, so there's a sculpt underneath and it just gives it more of an authentic aesthetic. It's a good face print tech used there. You see like this nice stubble look going on. It looks really good. And the most impressive thing about this head sculpt is these spiky blades, I guess I just want to call them, on his mask. They're individually sculpted. This is expensive tooling right here. His head sculpt alone must have taken up the entire budget for this 5-pack. You know, I really like the black eyeshadow under the mask. It gives it that Batman under the cowl kind of feel. And I like these, I guess I'll call them fangs, part of the mask, where they, you know, just sink down like that. It's beautiful. The only thing is it's pliable, so when you move his head down, yeah, that's going to bend in a bit, but just try to not keep him posed with his head down for too long, otherwise you're gonna have it curve out and stick outward like that. Wow, this mask is multi-layered. They really went all out with this one. It deserves a standing ovation. Impressive. Most impressive. I remember the 90s Toy Biz vintage figure of Strife when I was a kid, and I just remember him having that flipping over mask mechanic that can expose his face, and it would have been cool if he had an alternate head because you can't really pop this Cable head on this one, not because it won't fit. It does fit, it's just, you know, this Cable has the comp thing right here, and if you still want to see how it looks on the body, here you go. But yeah, this totally throws it off for me. As a kid, I always thought that Strife had the coolest design ever. I probably still feel that way. I feel like him and Spawn were like my favorite designs of the 90s, but anyway, not to sidetrack, this is a great update for a previously released figure, which he was first in the Legends line in that Jubilee Build-A-Figure wave. That was a Toys R Us exclusive. That wave drove everyone nuts to chase down because it was poorly distributed. But wow, we get a really good update. There are some things I wish they did differently this time around to make it better, but some of the tweaks that they made definitely puts this one above the last one. Unfortunately, he still has the Hyperion upper torso, which, you know, it's kind of hidden with this layer. So you got this armored layer with the shoulder pads right there. And then even the belt kind of hides it too. But the oblique muscles look great. I mean, they're angular enough to make his upper chest just puff out. I do wish he was on a ball joint though for the waist. I think that would have been a lot better. Would have made this belt blend in a lot better. You'll see that waist cut visible, where I felt like this belt should have been purposed to hide that waist cut right there. But I like the paint job. This like light metallic blue is beautiful. You get it on the torso and you get it on the front of the legs. His arms are pinless and his legs are pinless, which is really good. The arms, however, you got segmented lines right there on the biceps, but not on the deltoid muscle, which is weird. It should be all the way up. The last figure had the segmented lines on the deltoid muscles. So, but yeah, some of the layers that they added look great, like the forearm gauntlets right there. You know, he's got open hands, And look at those spikes on his thighs. Like, how does this dude even walk? Like, he's got to walk with his arms spread out, because I could just see these spikes just poking his hand all the time. That would be annoying to walk with. I feel like they could have increased his size a little bit on the lower legs to make him a little bit taller, because the lower legs, they don't match the upper leg in length. So he should have been a little bit taller. So even though the proportion is a little off on the legs, he still stands taller than Cable, and they should be the same height. I just felt like if they extended the lower legs, they could have brought in a new Cable to match that height, because we need an updated Cable as well, and just to stay consistent with the scale, especially when it comes to clones. The cape is nice and textured, and since this is layered, it's definitely going to be a pretty easy swap if you want to put in a wired cape. I do like the sculpt of this cape though. Now for accessories, unlike the last Strife, he came with a sword. This one only comes with an extra pair of fists. Articulation for Strife, his head can move that far up, it moves that far down. Move it left and right, it barely pivots. Arms can move that far up for a straight T-pose. You can move them down and swing them around. You got the bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows, great range. Wrist swivel and a hinge. Ab crunch moves that far forward, which is really good, and that far back. Again, good range there. Waist swivel, his legs can spread that far apart, and he kicks up really high too, and back, so you get a frontward split with him. Rock his legs around. You got the thigh swivel, the double jointed knees, and no heel to the clone butt. No boot swivel, surprisingly. His ankles can move straight up, maybe a little bit higher, but man, they're tight on mine. You can move them down, and you can rock them around. Even though they didn't need to fix what wasn't broken, 9 years later, we get a few upgrades for an acceptable remaster. I'm rating Strife with a 9 out of 10. Random first appeared as a bounty hunter with the power to adapt his body to counteract any mutant power and to fire projectiles from his gun-morphed forearms. Not only does Random have a form of reactive shape-shifting, counter-adaptation, and protoplasmic projectiles, he also has a degree of super strength and invulnerability. Random was a former X-Factor team member in the 90s on the heroic side, but also went on the villain side, joining Exodus's acolytes. Alright, so Random is the only figure in this multi-pack that does not include any accessories at all. So I even try to improvise with the deluxe MCU Black Widow, the white one that came with these explosive accessories. And I thought this peg would be fat enough to fit within these holes, but it's not. The big one though, however, does. You could plug it right there in the middle, just so I can try to find something to give to this guy. And this could work, it just doesn't look projectile enough for me, so it looks like he's blowing up his own arm. Now, a few months ago, I made a video of a Marvel Legends X-Men wish list that I'd love to see made in the line, and Random was number 2 on my list. And nothing pisses me off more than when they butcher a character in figure form that I've been wanting on my wish list. Kind of takes me back to the HasLab Engine of Vengeance, that Madeline Pryor. It wasn't comic accurate to her 80s look to go with the 80s team. They did a more modern take. That's how I feel here with Random. If anything, this look is not even his 90s look. It's more of his 2011 look of when he was in Generation Hope, which he had a much slender look just like this. He was a lot smaller. He definitely wasn't as over-exaggerated like in the 90s, but that was the look he debuted in, so therefore that's his default look. And let's face it, this is not the Random that we wanted. We wanted that 90s stylized version. And I'll have some images here to reference this look. And while it is comic accurate to that era in Generation Hope, again, it's not accurate to the 90s look, his default look. That should have been the main look they should have went off of. All they did here was take the 2019 Endgame Comic Hercules figure and add some new layers and some new parts to it. And I get that Marvel Legends likes to keep the scale universal so they fit in amongst each other and not so much stylized, but this is a stylized character, and this should have been one of those exceptions where they go stylized with it. You know, Random is huge. This guy's a freaking unit, and if they did that stylized version, he would have fit perfectly as a Bath. I mean, doing this right here, they're wasting their BAF selections. The 90s Toy Biz vintage random figure is so nostalgic to me. That's probably my favorite Toy Biz figure I had as a kid. But I don't want to let nostalgia blind me from giving you an honest opinion, because let's face it, how many YouTube reviewers have you watched that are blinded by nostalgia? Hey, I'm guilty of that. That's happened to me before. So all I want to do is call it down the middle. If you're here to tell me to stop complaining because they made the figure I wanted, then all I have to say is that was a wish list made before the figure was revealed. So I didn't know they were going to butcher his look at all. Not my fault that Hasbro failed to execute a 90s version of Random. And yeah, while I can appreciate the character being made in figure form, what I don't appreciate is it not being done the right way. Think about that one figure you always wanted and then only to have it completely butchered, not looking like you wanted it to, and having you feel utterly disappointed. My job is to objectively critique. Don't take it as complaints. Again, this perceived notion about honest toy reviews being only negative things said is dumb. You can be negative and still full of shit. If you don't think I'm being honest, then fine. That's you. But I'm being honest with myself, and that's what matters to me more. I'm gonna stay grounded with you, so let's dive in deeper and point out the flaws as well as what I do like too. I am a fan of the head sculpt. I do like the glasses that are painted with this like metallic deco, so that's pretty cool. And then you have his 5 o'clock shadow. You might not see it as well because the lights are very bright on the face here, but let me turn my camera down and you can see the 5 o'clock shadow more visible there, so it does look good. That bottom lip is weird though. It's more bottom lip than upper lip, but when you see his eyebrows and that expression, you know, it kind of goes together. So I am a fan of the head sculpt, I will say that. I like his do-rag. It's painted in red. He could have benefited from an alternate head. He's borrowing the jacket from Thunderstrike and Rage, I believe, which has a red painted deco right there at the top, and you get some buttons and zippers painted, so the paintwork came out nice on the jacket. However, his jacket should have been closed at the bottom because he normally has it zipped up on the bottom and not open. In some instances, he does have it open like this, but always, more often than not, it's always zipped up at the bottom. You get nice texturing and wrinkles on the back of the jacket. The one thing I love about this figure the most is his tattoos. I mean, look how beautiful that is. That is an awesome looking snake tattoo, and it's wrapped all around his arm. Look at that. And the scale work to that is beautiful. You can see the rattle on the rattlesnake right there. That's very detailed. Man, they made a great print on this. So it looks so good. I like the fangs. Yeah, everything about this snake tattoo is just awesome. And then on the back, he has another tattoo right there with the heart and the dagger and the wings with a ribbon wrapping around it. That's just so nice. Again, great job on the tattoo execution. That's awesome. He's got barbed wire wraps around his left arm right there. This is cool. That came out really nice. You can actually see like the spiky part of the barbed wires. Then he has his foreskin for a forearm. I'm just joking, but yeah, it doesn't. I wish they kind of made it a little more like in the 90s. He had, yeah, I don't know. Something's a little off here. I can't pinpoint what it is, but I don't know. The shape is just, something's just weird about it. But it would have been awesome if he had interchangeable arms, you know, to attach weapons and such, because that's another thing this figure needed. Here is the belt, and alright, so this crotch piece has to be the worst crotch piece in the line. I mean, it's just non-existent. It just looks like he has an upper body and then just legs. No crotch whatsoever. It's just weird the way this is sculpted. It looks like his wang and slang in there. And it's just weird. Like, why is his butt cheeks on the back of his thighs? It should be right here on the crotch piece. It's just absolutely terrible. It makes his legs look so bad. And another thing is, why are the calves the same size, if not maybe bigger than his thighs? It just doesn't look right. And in the comics, yeah, his calves were over exaggerated, but that was the clothing part of the calves, not his actual muscle, where it does look like his calves is bigger than his thighs. But here in figure form, it just didn't translate well. Yeah, he totally skipped ass day. Again, these are reused from Hercules. And another thing that really bothers me right here is the knee pads. Why are they armored? It should be all denim like his legs. And another thing is like he has two knee pads right here, the armored plating right there that's sculpted on the leg, and then what's sculpted on the boot right here. Like, what the hell is this? Look, when you bend his knee, how horrible does that look? And then you got this gap right here. Like, it just looks so bad. Like, if I were to design this, I would just put this piece that's on the boot, sculpt it on as the knee pad. So that way, you know, it's kind of form-fitted to flow with the thigh, the knee, and the calf. That whole area just flows together instead of having this. Damn, it looks ridiculous. He has two knee pads, one attached to his actual leg and the other attached to his boot. I thought these boots were reused from Richter, but they're completely different. You know, he's got all the straps here, all the buckles are painted, which is nice. It's all wrapped around. Yeah, oh man, something's off with these, well, I know what's off with the calves and the legs here. Again, if they did it like the 90s version and they did it in that over-exaggerated style, it would have been okay because it's stylized. But because they try to make it universal to fit in the line, it's not, it doesn't work. Not for this character, it just doesn't work. For articulation, Random's head can only move about that far up. That's all you're gonna get. And it moves that far down, left, right. Does it pivot just slightly? And then you got his arms that move straight down for straight up, I should say, for a T pose, and that's about it. I believe his other arm can move a little bit higher. No, it looks like it's going in a downward motion, so that's about it. And then you got his arms, you can swing them around, right? You got the bicep swivel, you got the double jointed elbows right here, and I feel like this moves further in than his other arm. So yeah, basically they put a little like ditch right there on this forearm so you could bend that in more. Then on the other hand, you got the wrist swivel and the wrist hinge. Good ab crunch on this guy. He moves that far forward and he moves about that far back. It's decent enough. Got the waist swivel. His legs spread about that far apart and it's closing in. So let me just hold it. God, that's terrible. And then his legs kick up about that far and you can kick it that far back. They rock around. You got the thigh swivel. You got the double jointed knees. No heel to the random butt or no ass actually whatsoever. So it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't even touch his ass. He does have a boot swivel. And then you got his ankles that move up that far. They move down really low and you can rock them around. This character had the potential to be one of the greatest Marvel Legends ever made, but Hasbro's kit bashing technique here made this an utter failure by not staying true to the 90s source material. I'm rating Random with a 5 out of 10. Pretty Boy is a member of the Reavers. He is a cyborg that has telepathic powers. Pretty Boy has bionic extendable arms and sharp fingers. Besides that, interestingly enough, he has fiber optic filaments which could combine with his telepathic powers, using them to transform a person into a Reaver. As we take a look at the Pretty Boy head sculpt, I know a lot of folks are saying he looks like Bruce Campbell, and I can totally see it. So yeah, Ash Williams from Evil Dead Customs incoming. But I do like the facial expression here. I like that smirk. Gives him a cocky look. And I like the hairstyle too. So the hair sculpt came out really nice. And even in some classic comics, he does have that Bruce Campbell looking kind of vibe. So I think this works. And one thing I love about this figure is that it's an all new sculpt from scratch. So we're looking at a new body here, minus the arms, because we already saw these on SpiderMan. But you know, second time reuse, it's still basically brand new. But yeah, it looks really, really good. I love all the line work, the circuitry here. You get a really good aesthetic here for the robot body. It's a cool cybernetic body. So you can see here at the very top where the flesh tone ends, right around the neck area, the collar area, you get all this kind of, tubes and mechanical parts, on the torso. You get some bolts right there. And yeah, this is looking really, really nice. Only thing I do wish is that I wish there was a wash. And it's a shame because there's such nice details on this figure, which is why they probably went with a darker metal looking plastic. Damn, it would have been so much better with a wash. That was the one thing when they revealed the render. I was just hoping, like, please let it have a wash. And nope, it's not there. You get some paintwork right there with the wires. You get some paintwork right there in the circuitry. So you get different colored wires like red and green. Maybe a hint of yellow somewhere. But nothing on the back. You see what I mean? It's like they don't follow through with it. And it sucks. But man, this is such a great sculpt. I'm sorry to whoever sculpted this that, you know, they couldn't paint it for you and bring that sculpt to life as it deserves. Because this is really nice. Look at these legs. All the line work and, oh, wow, the gears too right there. That's so cool. Like, there's so much to appreciate in this sculpt. The calves, you even get some studs right there above the ankles. This is so nice. Yeah, look at this figure top to bottom. It still looks good, even though, you know, it doesn't have paint. You know, from afar, it still looks really good. And this body could have really worked for SpiderMan here, because SpiderMan did wear a similar armor to this in the comics. So I don't know why they couldn't apply it here, whereas they just gave him the arms from this figure. So just give him this new body. Because it just feels like you gave us a figure we already kit bashed. Now, I'm not going to head swap SpiderMan on this. I only head swap when it makes sense. So, and it wouldn't make sense here because you got the collar and neck area that's flesh tone. And SpiderMan is always armored up from neck down. So, now for accessories, he comes with 2 guns. One of them have an extended magazine. And he has 2 muzzle effects in green bars. He also has 2 green smoke effects. You got the trigger hands to hold the guns, obviously. Articulation for Pretty Boy. His head is on a ball joint, so he can only look about that far up, which is not much at all. He looks that far down, left, right. You do get some good pivoting and rocking motion. His arms move that far up, just straight T-pose. You can move them down. You swing them around. His arms are ratchet. You got the bicep swivel and double jointed elbows, wrist swivel, wrist hinge, traditional hinge on the closed fist, and you got the vertical hinges on the trigger hands. His upper torso can move that far forward, but it can't move back for some reason. It sucks. That's all you're gonna get is that, and it's pretty much straight. It can kind of swivel, but you know, it does pivot nicely. I wouldn't risk swiveling this. It's no point to try because you got the waist swivel right there. But you know, that good rocking motion helps. It's just that back movement really sucks. His legs can spread that far apart, so full split. And well, his legs can kick up that far, which is really good. I heard a crack somewhere. I think it's on the knee right here. I gotta be careful. But it's a separate piece. All right, I'm not tripping. You got his legs that can kick back. Nice frontward split, too. He could do things better than SpiderMan. You got the legs that kind of rock around. It has like this weird ball-jointed hip, and I hate those hips. But it works for this body because it's a mechanical, cybernetic body. Oh, no. You got the, what am I talking about? Forget what you call these. I think the barbell hinge. So, not bad. You got the thigh swivel. You got the double jointed knees. So, that is real nice. No heel to the pretty butt. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, heel to the pretty butt almost. More to his back. But, you know, you got no thigh swivel. Excuse me, calf swivel. No calf swivel whatsoever. You would think so because there should be a cut right there. But it is what it is. His ankles move up real high. And they move that low, and you can rock them around. A plus to have the most accessories in the set, as well as an all-new sculpt from scratch. But a little more paint would have made this boy prettier. I'm rating Pretty Boy with an 8.5 out of 10. Vertigo is a member of the Savage Land Mutates, as well as one of Mr. Sinister's Marauders. She is able to project waves of psionic distortion that cause extreme disorientation and nausea in other living beings. Vertigo can selectively focus her power on one or more individuals, or affect every being within range, the exact limit of which is unknown. Later on in an Avengers appearance, Vertigo seems to gain a mysterious new power, which enables her to put her victims into a deep slumber. Talk about one of the laziest reuses ever. You know, back in 2017 when they came out with that Spider-Man and MJ 2-pack, that comic MJ head was then later reused for a vintage wave Black Widow, just with a different colored hair, and it shouldn't be that way. Every character should have their own unique look. And my god, Hasbro pulled the same bullshit again here, because this head is reused from that Super Scroll Build-A-Figure Wave Sue Storm. I just have that head on this retro blue and white body. But yeah, same exact head sculpt and hair. They just painted it green. So freaking lazy, man. And they gave, oh my god, they gave her blue eyes. That's not even her colored eyes. She's supposed to have green eyes. Why the... I'm face palming right now at the moment because they just can't get these characters right. What the hell? At least if you're not going to give her green eyes, give her the all white pupils when she's increasing her powers. Why, Hasbro? Why? And now all of a sudden you're going to make your villains look nice? Look at this. She looks like a sweetheart. She doesn't look evil at all. Does not scream villain at all. And I put the Madam Hydra head on this figure because at least she still has the green hair, even though her hair is supposed to match the color of the green on her costume. And then she still has the green lipstick, but at least she has green eyes, you know what I mean? Actually, the more I look at this Madam Hydra head sculpt, she does remind me of the Vertigo from the Deadpool video game back in 2013. So I think what I might do is heat the heads up so I could remove the hair, because again, her hair is supposed to match the color of her costume. So I might just pop this hair on this head. But yeah, if you care about comic accuracy like I do, you would want this hair on the body to match the green on her costume. If not, then, you know, if you're totally happy with this kind of swap, then, you know, go for it. And the one thing I love about this figure that they did right here is the green swirling pattern. I mean, it just looks excellent. Hell, I feel dizzy just looking at it. It's so nice. And it sucks they didn't include any effects with her. But looking at this kind of plays an effect on me because I do suffer from vertigo too. So I hate looking at swirling patterns. And she's unfortunately on the older female buck, so they didn't use the new updated female buck that's pinless with the double jointed elbows. And luckily she doesn't have peg holes on the back. But yeah, looking at the swirling design from shoulder all the way to her toes, they got it right. I'm skipping the articulation and covering the accessories because we've already seen how this body mold works 1,000 times. And so she includes 2 open hands. Another thing you could do, since she doesn't include any effects, is, and I've seen someone do this before, I just can't remember who did it, but you could take the Power Rangers Lightning Collection pumpkin wrapper effect and use it as a effect for Vertigo, and I think that's pretty clever. It is green, so that color matches her power set and her costume. Yeah, this works because it's loopy and squiggly. Yeah, this would be a great use if you have that figure. But what I'm gonna do is use the Canna Beam effects that's in green, and this looks so good. A less than half-ass effort and one of the biggest BS head reuses I've ever seen in the line. She only gets 2 points from me, and those 2 points are paint only. 2 out of 10. Zero was created 2,000 years in the future by the Oksani as a prototype for the ambient energy damping automated peacekeeping mechanisms, acronym for short, ATOMS. Zero was damaged and found by the mutant tyrant Strife, who opposed the Oksani. Strife then reactivated Zero, leaving it mute and obedient. Zero would become Strife's most trusted ally. When Strife's armies were defeated, Strife and Zero fled, traveling back in time to the late 20th century. Zero's teleportation powers are impeccable. He's capable of opening gateways linking to places spatially without having to traverse the space between. And here we have Zero, and yeah, Zero is an absolute Zero, man. They just put him on the Spider UK body, and it's just a blank body. I mean, they didn't even bother, other than the design, right? Because he's supposed to have the circle on his face and the chest. Other than that, they didn't bother with adding any kind of deco, not even some of that shading deco that they do. They could have done a gray shading to trim the muscle highlights and stuff like that, but Nope. And I say gray and not blue because I just feel like gray brings out white better than blue does. Definitely don't want black shading because then it'll interfere with his paint design right there. You know, a blank body like this is actually a good time to introduce a new body style. Just saying. You know, make the figure a little more intriguing. Hell, they could have done the Vulcan body on him because that Vulcan body is pretty much solid. He doesn't have wrinkles like this. Like, Zero's not supposed to have wrinkles. He's like a metal alloy. So this makes absolutely no sense. And another thing that grinds my gears is the paint on his face is off-centered. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some collectors customize this guy into the spot. And, you know, don't know when we'll ever get that from Hasbro because they're complaining about paint decal costs. So, and that's going to be a heavily decaled figure. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got for this guy. We already know how the articulation works on this body, so let's get straight into the accessories. For accessories, he comes with a pair of fists. And lastly, he comes with a portal effect, which you know I'm all over because it's perfect for ACBA, and I love the effect more than the figure. So, you know, when the accessory is better than the figure, that tells you something. But I really like the paint decal here. It gives it this kind of dark matter effect to it. Looks really, really good. And it's perfect for the character. If it wasn't for the portal effect, he would get a complete 0 from me. The accessory is more enjoyable than the figure itself. I'm rating 0 a 2 out of 10. And now for some comparisons, here is Strife next to Cable, which you saw earlier, and also here he is with Apocalypse. Strife did defeat Apocalypse in the comics during the Executioner's Song storyline, but that was a depowered Apocalypse. Apocalypse will later defeat Strife at full power in Messiah War. Here is Random next to Nimrod and Strong Guy. Strong Guy was a worthy bath. Talk about wasting a wish here with Random. Waste of what should have and would have been a great bath. Nimrod should have been a bath too, but at least Nimrod was done right. He was still wasted in a 3-pack instead of headlining a wave. This is what I'm talking about, them wasting baths for their X-Men waves. And don't even get me started with the Cha'ad bath. Complete waste of one bath not being done right. Here is Pretty Boy next to the Reavers, and all we need left, I think, is Cole and Mace. Most importantly, a Reavers leader, Donald Pierce. Here is Vertigo next to the only other classic Marauders member I have, and that's Sabretooth. This costume is the closest to that look, and we have a long way to go as we need 8 more members to complete the team. And finally, here is Zero next to Strife and Deadpool. Zero would also be a good fit for your Deadpool shelf as the two have history. And now to wrap things up, my final rating as a collective is a 5.25 out of 10. And that's being generous because there are some holes to fill in the gaps with some team completions. My overall view on this set is that it sucks to give this set a low score because as an X-Men fan, I'm a fan of these characters. But unfortunately, most of them didn't translate into good figures. And no matter how much you like a character, no one wants shitty figures of characters they genuinely like. Only Strife and Pretty Boy are my favorites and the 2 best figures in the set. Strife is the star attraction, Pretty Boy has an all new sculpt with the most accessories. If Random wasn't going to be a bath, they could have at least made him feel like a bath in this set by making him a deluxe size with a unique sculpt, like he deserved to be. Would have justified the price a bit since these 5-packs most of the time feel like a wave in a box. They butchered his 90s look, but if you like his Generation Hope depiction and can accept that smaller look, which this figure is pretty much a carbon copy of, then I think you'll like the figure. I really want to like this figure, but I didn't end up liking it as much as I wanted to. Random can go on your X Factor or Villains display. Vertigo should have been given Sue's force field effect in a green color to complement her power set instead of her head. Zero has the best accessory in the set, and they could have made him more fun if they added interchangeable cybernetic parts. Between him and Vertigo, I can't decide which one is worst, but both are trashalicious. So sure, you'll get 4 first-timers in the line to fill in the gaps with some teams like the Reavers, Marauders, X-Factor, Mutant Liberation Front, etc. But I'm starting to ask myself if these teams will even matter whenever completed. Because if Hasbro can't get most of the characters right in figure form, then the teams won't even look right altogether. Cha'ad shouldn't be the same height as Corsair when hunched over. Just saying. Hopefully the satisfaction will still be there in the end as I really care about team completions. All this for $125. Hasbro shouldn't settle for low quality standards to get your purchase. They should shoot for the moon to win your wallet. Sets like this tells me they are trying to entertain churn more than achieving maximum profitability through customer satisfaction. They are hurting right now, and half-ass sets such as this, it's no wonder why collectors are dropping this line. You know it's bad when a diehard X-Men fan such as myself disparages this set in utter disappointment. If you want it, either buy it now or wait for clearance. That's up to you depending how much you want it. I'm just here to provide you my honest and realist hot take. Do better, Hasbro. Now I kick it back to you. What do you think of this Villains 5-pack? Rank your favorite to least favorite. What would have made this pack better in your eyes? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. That was my review. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xman87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. Enjoy the pics at the end of the video. See you on the next review. Peace, peace.